So my name is Denise Jamison. I'm the Vice President for Medical Affairs and the Dean of the Carver College of Medicine. Thanks so much for joining us today, both in person, and there are a bunch of people online, for this premiere of Breath by Breath, Living with Cystic Fibrosis. So I hope you notice the gold and the purple lights on the side. The purple lights represent cystic fibrosis, and the gold is for University of Iowa's black and gold. So we thought it would be a nice way to recognize this special day and this incredible story. This documentary is more than a story about cystic fibrosis. It's really a story about people. It's about families, scientists, clinicians, and patients who refuse to accept the limits of what was once thought possible. And it's about the breakthrough that happened right here at the University of Iowa and the lives that have been changed because of them. So I'd like to acknowledge a few people. I'd like to acknowledge these incredible individuals who shared their lives with us in the documentary. Grace Lidgett, who's here with us today, Jason Chialti, who's here with us, and Cassie Murphy. Thank you for trusting us with your stories. We are also honored to recognize Dr. Michael Welsh today, a pioneer in cystic fibrosis research and a recipient of the 2025 Canada Gairdner International Award. Congratulations to you and your team. With us today to help celebrate is President of the Gairdner Foundation, Dr. Janet Rossant. Thank you for being here. We also have University of Iowa President Barb Wilson. And Provost Kevin Craigle. Thank you for being here. Last but not least, I want to acknowledge the incredibly talented people whose names were displayed at the end of this documentary. So thank you so much to UI Healthcare marketing and communications colleagues who really brought these stories to life. If you're here, raise your hands. I see, yep, in the back. So we're now going to have a question and answer period, and Dr. Welsh thought it would be meaningful to have one of the patients from the documentary help him, and Grace kindly offered to join him. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Michael Welsh and Grace Lidgett. All right, we collected some questions beforehand, and some of them are for Grace and some of them are for Dr. Welsh. This one is actually for both of you. What was it like to be part of a documentary?
It was so fun and so odd. I've never done anything like this for sure, but I was just really grateful to be able to give my time to people who have given so much time to me. And I was so ecstatic to be able to recognize Dr. Welsh and what he's done and the difference that he's made in my life. I also think it was really interesting and fun to kind of reminisce on my childhood. There's obviously been massive amounts of change that has happened since I was little. And you always know that, you recognize that, but it's been really fun to consciously be aware of just how different life is. So that's, yeah.
It's hard to follow some people. So I really liked this documentary because it did one thing I really liked. It made me look better than I really look. don't know how they did that, but it was good. So the other thing, it's just an honor to have contributed to this arc. And this story tells that arc so well, from people to caregivers, to the lab, to development, and back to people. And so I feel so privileged to be part of that thing. And I want to thank this documentary and the Gardner Foundation for bringing that to the public so people see the medicines don't just appear like magic. They take work, they take creativity, they take hard work, they take a long time, 35 years. And so bringing that to the public is really important. Most people in here know something about this, but that's an important message that we need to tell, and we need to tell over and over again. So thank you to the people who put this together.
This is another one for both of you. What do you hope viewers take away from the documentary?
I think, in my mind, the viewers can be kind of categorized into two different people. It's the people who have like a personal relationship of some sort with someone who's directly impacted by CF, whether that's like a community or parents or friends of some sort. And then it's the other side that's like the medical research, the people who are interested in all this kind of like medication and, you know, all that stuff. I think for the medical side, I really hope they can deeper understand and see just how much they are impacting individual lives. They can see numbers and statistics, but like to actually see how vastly different my life is and how vastly different just a few others are, you can only start to imagine how different thousands and thousands of other people's lives are who are living the exact same existence as me. And then on the other side, the families and the friends, especially in my small community, just how supported I have been since I was little. Like for them to watch this and understand that like that fundraiser money that they have like gifted me with since I was little, like it went towards something and there is a result from it, and my life has changed because of the generosity not only from them financially, but from people like you who have poured their life into something like this. So that's what I really hope they get out.
So what I hope you take away is a celebration, because this is about, you know, me to some part, but it's really about us, the people in this room, the people who've been working for a long time, the physicians, the scientists, the staff, the custodians, the people who run the cores, the people who do the paperwork, all of us. I hope you'll take some pride in what we've accomplished together, and all of us are important here. And I think the other thing, in addition to all that, is I'll say the people with CF. They've inspired us. They've helped us along the way. Let me tell you about one person who wasn't in this film. Her name was Kay Van Thornout. She died too young. Anyway, she contributed to so many of our studies, helped us. And these aren't studies just to test a new drug. These are studies just to help us understand the disease. I remember one time, she's getting ready to do a study, experimental study, and I'm sitting on a wooden bench there with her, and I asked, Kay, why are you doing this? And she says, I know this isn't going to help me, but maybe it'll help somebody else. Such a noble spirit, made me want to cry. She didn't know about you, she didn't know about Jason, she didn't know about Cassie. Turns out it helped somebody she did know. Her daughter ended up having cystic fibrosis. We now have a picture of her daughter holding a photo of her mother, who's now gone, holding that, and her daughter is smiling.
This is another one for both of you. Looking back, what stands out as the greatest challenge you've overcome?
I think the greatest challenge that I had to learn to overcome is learning to get back up when you're knocked down. A disease like this, it almost comes in waves. Like illnesses and infections, it's difficult, but you have to learn to stand back up. I think my story as a cross-country runner and a distance runner really taught me a lot about that. There was one specific race, I was fighting off a lung infection, and I was too stubborn for my own good. I decided to run it anyways at Waverly. I made it a little over 1.25 miles into the race when I made eye contact with my coach and just fell off onto the sideline. I was just lying in a ball there, gasping for air, because I just couldn't breathe. But I had to learn how to get back up and get back on the line the next meet. And that's not just indicative of a sport, it's indicative of life and what it teaches you. I can't be scared to just keep living and to keep working hard and to keep taking care of myself. And the fact that you have support is what helps you to walk through that. So.
So one tough episode was already covered in the documentary when we had to try and turn the directions, the DNA, into a protein that we could study. And I just mentioned one part about that when they mentioned my postdoc came out. So she was working in the lab for about a year or so, maybe a little longer, on a project, a nice project, and it was going along. And then out of our fax machine rolled the paper with the sequence of this new gene. And she was the one best able to take this on in the lab. And I said, Deborah, would you do this? She put that year's worth of work in the drawer and never looked back. And I love that fearlessness. If you've got something important, you've got to go after it. And she did. So that was one thing. The other thing for me personally, I can't match getting up off the off the cross country course. But I was at I had some experience in the lab when I was a student here and a resident here, and I thought I like this and I'm going to try and do this, and I think this is worth doing. And then I worked really hard in the lab, and I realized that after working really hard, I didn't really know anything. And I thought, well, you know, I really like clinical medicine, and that's definitely worthwhile. And I thought I was good at it. And I thought, you know, I'm going to give it another shot. And so I picked up and I moved to a different university. And there I got interested in, and I guess I had an original thought. And I really liked that and got completely consumed by it. And then, after that, thinking about this all the time, I realized that that would be my life's work, a physician scientist.
Thank you. Another one for both of you. What kind of support has made the biggest difference for you?
I think the biggest support that I've received in my life is the kind that is just, it has no boundaries. It doesn't give you boundaries. It just is almost endless. And my parents are one of the people who have displayed that best to me. I grew up not knowing that boundaries were a thing. I didn't know that there was a box that I could be put in, because they gave me the confidence and the understanding that I could do anything that I wanted to. I could fight for anything that I cared about. And the fact that they instilled that into me so young really prepared me for when I grew old enough that people tried to put that box around me. And I fought and I pushed back hard. Another person who really stands out to me would be my assistant cross-country coach. It was my 10th grade year. I hadn't qualified for state yet. I'd already been running for 3 years, just casually. But my 10th grade year, when COVID hit, I really just put my entire being into this sport. It became like everything that I wanted to do. And he saw that, and he knew that, and he just had this abundance of confidence in what I could do. He gave me a little paper ticket that I still have hung up in my room, and it said state qualifier. I hadn't even run the race, but he had so much confidence in me, and he gave me so much support, and he was one of the first people to pull me aside in a room and tell me that what I'm doing is no longer a story just for myself. It's a story that can represent so many other people and what they were told that they couldn't do, and to show them that it doesn't matter, that they can do it anyways and that they can try. So.
I guess for me there's 4 things. First, my family. My first wife, Ruth, and then my wife now, Ann. I'm so lucky to be married to them. My 3 children, they're all here today, and I'm glad. And 4 of my grandchildren are here, Nathan and Emma and Lucia, and I'm just so happy to have them here today. The second thing would be the university. It's an environment where you can try out new things, you can ask questions, you can challenge, you can be surrounded by collaborative people, you can be surrounded by people who will ask you questions and drive you forward. The third thing is funding. This costs a lot. I'll repeat what Mary Lasker said. She said, if you think research is expensive, try disease. And that just captures it. And I've been fortunate with 4 sources of funding. The NIH is really important. The NIH funded CF research. And even more than funding research on cystic fibrosis or Parkinson's or any specific disease, they create a broad foundation. And that foundation is on where you build your research to focus on cystic fibrosis or Parkinson's or others. That foundation is so important. The Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, incredibly important. They funded our research, many others' research. They funded Aurora Biosciences and then Vertex to develop these drugs. The Howard Hughes Medical Institute, incredibly important to me. That gave me freedom. I didn't have to ask to do anything. I just had the funds. I could go do it. I could follow things. I could immediately hop on to whatever I wanted to go after. I think of philanthropy has been incredibly important. Here I think Troy Ross is here. I don't know if he is, from the Carver Foundation, the Papa John Foundation, and individual people who contribute because they hope and they trust that we're going to do something with that money that's worth doing. And so we've benefited from all of those. The last thing I'll say is freedom. I had freedom to do the research I wanted to do. There's no bias in what I could do. I could go anywhere, do what I wanted. And that is incredibly powerful. And so I benefited from all those 4 things.
Thank you. So Grace, this question is for you. In what ways has Trikafta reshaped the day-to-day reality of living with cystic fibrosis?
I've had a lot of time to be able to think on this because of this documentary, and I basically came to the conclusion it changed everything. Is that simple enough? No, it changed the way I think about my future. My future's no longer 10 more years. It's how many decades do I have to do everything that I love? It changed the way that my daily routine goes. I don't have an hour plus of treatments to work around anymore. It changed the way I think about traveling and doing the things I love. I don't have to worry about getting sick consistently anymore. I don't, the way that I got sick when I was younger is so ingrained into my person that it seems like it's almost just intertwined with my childhood, and I'm not her anymore. It's almost like a distant memory of somebody that I was because my life is so crazy different now. One of my biggest childhood memories is my family and friends were all having a gathering upstairs, and like CF is, I don't get a break. So I'm in the basement doing my medications and my treatments with my mom sitting next to me, and I coughed basically so hard that I just threw mucus up, and I couldn't breathe. And I was crying, and my mom's holding me, and that is a core childhood memory of mine, which is really crazy to think about because I haven't related to her for years because of what these drugs have done to me, done for me, you know.
Dr. Welsh, this is one for you. How will emerging genetic technologies shape the next generation of cystic fibrosis care?
Casey Stengel said, never make predictions, especially about the future. So I can't. But what I can tell you is a little bit of history. So after the CFTR gene was discovered and we were able to correct the defects in cells, we thought maybe we could do this in humans. And so in some studies in collaboration with Genzyme and led by Joe Zabner, we tested the hypothesis that we could put a normal copy of the gene into the airway epithelium. We use the nose. I'm a pulmonary physician. I thought if something goes wrong, I'd rather have it go wrong in the nose than down in the lung. And so we did that experiment, and we got transfer, but it was nowhere near good enough for therapy. And so then you get a result. You tested your hypothesis, didn't come out that way. Now you got to figure out why. And Joe and many other people, and people around the country, figured out why. And you now have a problem you have to chase. The problem has changed over that time. Now we have much better tools, reagents to fix the gene, to edit it. You've heard about CRISPR and that. But the problem still sort of remains a FedEx kind of problem. It's hard to deliver these materials to the right cell at the right time at the right amount. So where are we going to go? So Paul McCrae right now, my colleague up on the 5th floor, over the 6th floor up there, is chasing that problem, and his lab is. You saw some of that on the documentary. Are we going to get there? I believe the answer is yes. When? I don't know. I don't want to have unrealistic expectations, but I think we're going to get there. And the reason is you got a whole bunch of smart people here and around the country and around the world, and they're working like crazy on this.
Thank you. All right. Another one for you, Grace. So what has your experience been like receiving care here at UI Healthcare, and what aspects of that care have made the biggest difference for you?
I just can't imagine going anywhere and having the quality of the care that I've received match this place. It goes so far beyond just the research and the medications. These things are like integral to like what you guys do, and it's so wildly important. But the part that has impacted me most as a person who doesn't understand all the big words is the relationships that are built here between the patients and the doctors, and how much they care about you and your growth and your determination, your future, and your goals. And like they care about that alongside all of the medication and the therapies and like all the medical side. They wind those together perfectly, and my relationships with these doctors are just, they're beautiful. 18 years growing up in the pediatrics, I can say that I have friends, not just, I have friends.
Thank you. Dr. Welsh, why do researchers rely on the scientific method?
Because it works.
All right. Fair enough.
You know, it's you go and you have an idea and you look at the background and you test it, and then you say it's going to come out this way or that way, and you're going to accept it. You're not going to be biased. You're going to try and look at it. You're trying to figure out the truth, and you want other people then to pick that up, and you want to publish it so other people can pick it up and carry it forward, and that's the key thing. I think the other thing about the scientific method, if you're going to use a scientific method, you've got to be humble, because you're going to make mistakes and you're going to get things wrong all the time. And you know, I think it's set up there. For some reason or other, my postdocs and grad students particularly like to shoot down my hypotheses. Not sure why, but I love it when they do that, because I don't want to work on something that's not going somewhere. So you have to be humble also, and you have to be willing to make mistakes.
Thank you. Grace, what are some of the biggest misperceptions people have about cystic fibrosis, and how can we change that?
I think that there are a couple different sides to this. There's like the idea of knowing what CF is. I definitely grew up around a couple people who think that it's just a lung disease, and they think that, oh, it's just the lungs, it's the only problem, but it's so much more than that. My digestive tract, my liver, my pancreas, I am teetering with CF-related diabetes. It's a progressive thing, and it impacts all of my person it's more than just lungs, even though the lungs are specifically targeted. And so I think that comes down to just building awareness and understanding what it is and giving it a good definition for people to know. And then I think the other side is maybe a little more of like an emotional understanding, thinking that people can put you in a box, thinking that people can define your limits for you when you're the only person who can define your limits. And I think that just goes across the board for any sort of disease or any sort of like disability. Just being able to know that I'm the only person who can define my limits, and you're the only person who can define yours, and it's up to us to listen to each other in what we say, and then to support each other in what we believe that we can accomplish, and to believe in each other to just keep moving forward. I don't think I would have any sort of accolades or running or any ambition if I didn't have people who first believed in me. So.
I think that's a lovely way to end, so I'm going to put the rest of my cards away, and I'm going to say thank you to you both. Thank you all for being here. The documentary will be posted online at the UI Healthcare website, and hopefully you've been inspired and learned something today, and we are so appreciative to Dr. Welsh and his entire team, and thank you to Grace for being here today. So one more big round of applause. Thank you.